welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and happy Halloween to you all. Now, to celebrate Halloween, we're going to be trying this puzzle on the screen, which is absolutely amazing sounding. It's called The Thing, and it's by Math Pesto, and it is themed quite closely on, was it in the 1982 film, John Carpenter? It's a long time since I've seen it, but I think it's now viewed as sort of a cult horror film. Well, I mean, there might be some spoilers in the instructions to this one, but this has been hugely appreciated by our testers. It's very rare that we get some that the comments are so completely clear. And the comments were, this is just a wonderful, wonderful puzzle. So I am looking forward to having a go at it. Apparently it's quite hard though. So bear that in mind if you're trying to make time in your own diary to have a go at it. But let me tell you about some things that are going on in and around the channel before we kick off with The Thing. The first is big news on the app front. We have released the gas pack. This is something we've been wanting to do for ages and ages. Loads of you I know will play the gas puzzles, which come out every day over on the Discord server. And you know, they've become, I think, part of all of our daily puzzle regimen. And now we have a whole pack of these puzzles available, made by Sam Cappleman-Lynes, Clover, whose puzzle we did yesterday, and of course Philip Newman. So go over there and check that out. You won't regret it. The way to get it is to download the free Cracking the Cryptic app, which I know many of you have done already, and then just choose the gas pack, which should be, I think it's definitely out on Android and App Store now. I think it's coming out today on Steam, but I haven't had final confirmation on that, so it might not be out on PC quite yet, but it's imminent apparently. We've also, by the way, updated the Domino Sudoku pack as well. That's got some new puzzles in it. So if you've finished all the puzzles in the Domino pack, firstly, well done. Secondly, there are some more puzzles available. Now, in other news, what else have we got? I'm going to be streaming the game Overhaul. Let me show you a picture of this. Is the sort of artwork around that. This is a game on PC, which is some sort of Sudoku hybrid where you get attacked by plants. I'm looking forward to it. 10 o'clock tomorrow UK time. I'd love to have your company for that one. Then what else? The Kickstarter. Must mention the Kickstarter every day because we're running out of days. If you want to get a copy of Cracking the Cryptic's Greatest Hits Volume 2, then you need to support the Kickstarter. I'll put a link on the screen. Thanks so much to those of you who've supported the Kickstarter so far. It's going great guns and it's truly exciting. Then, well, on Patreon, what haven't we got going on Patreon? It is the last day to get in your solution guide to Shy and Jovial's puzzle, Another Language. So do get, well, yes, you will still have time by the time this video goes out, assuming I can solve this puzzle. You'll still have about 3.5 hours or so, although we'll probably allow a little latitude for time zones. But really, today is the last day. Then tomorrow is the 1st of November, and we've got this incredible pack of puzzles by Peter Venus, Aspartagus, and Panthera. 12 Labours of Hercules. I'm going to be giving a shout out on the channel to anybody who manages to solve all 12 of those puzzles and send us in the correct solution. And in fact, the other thing we're thinking about regarding prizes for this pack is, I know that Peter has the original artwork still for the drawings that you'll see will accompany, well, this is one of the drawings, but there's a whole load of drawings that accompany each of the puzzles. So there might be some original artwork in the offing for the winners of the prizes around that pack. So that's really, really cool. And then finally, some names of successful solvers for last month's duality pack. I want to add to the previous hundreds of names I've read out. Fabian Jost, Rasmus Loge, Melissa Hernandez, Caden Atkinson, Heiko Fettig, Vincent Mercier, Stanley Gorlick, Ultra Luigi, Rachel Nordgren, Dan Brooks, Skylar Meadows, Timothy Beckson, glad you got a new job, Timothy. Bill Godgy, I think it is, or it could be Goggy. Wesley Leong, Matt Hall, Blue Rizzler Girl, Stephen Erickson, and Sam James and Alex Dixon. All of you, very, very well done indeed. And then just a couple of birthdays today. Kapateki, it's your birthday. Paul, it's your 22nd anniversary, I believe. And I know this because your husband Michael wrote to us. So Paul and Michael, we hope you have a brilliant day today. Anniversary is a good excuse for cake as well. And then Justin, you've turned 36 today, and I know this because your wife Charity wrote to us over there in Washington State. And Justin, we hope you have a fantastic day as well. I think you've turned 36. And that's all. Now we're going to do Battle with the Thing. So let's see what Math Pesto has got in store for us. And I'm just going to read this out. This intro is very cool indeed. 100,000 years ago, a UFO crash-landed in Antarctica. Norwegian researchers discovered the site in 1982 and accidentally revived the frozen passenger upon bringing... Oh, revived? Oh, hang on, no, there's something wrong with the punctuation here. I'm going to have to change this for when and accidentally revived the frozen passenger upon bringing it back to their lab. The thing... There's definitely something wrong with the language here. Hang on. I'm going to change it. I'm going to start again. 100,000 years ago, a UFO crash landed in Antarctica. I remember that from the film. Norwegian researchers discovered the site in 1982. And I'm not sure how the next bit's meant to be read, but they accidentally revived the frozen passenger upon bringing it back to their lab, the thing murdered a crew member and then assimilated him in order to kill off the others. It has now imitated one of their dogs and is making its way to Outpost number 31, where a US crew might meet the same fate. Right. So some of that should be redolent. I remember the dogs from the film. And then what used to happen is that the thing would sort of take the form of one of the crew members, and nobody would know exactly who the thing was. So it was a bit like Among Us, if you've ever played that game. I bet you Among Us was just a rip-off of the thing. But anyway, these are the Sudoku rules we're going to be dealing with. They are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Once in each row, column and box, the thing assimilates a number, thereby negating it. E.g., if the thing is in row 5, column 7... Whoa, I'm on funny thingy here. If the thing was in row 5, column 7, and the cell appears to contain a 3... its actual value is -3 because it's negated, so we've got minus numbers to deal with today. Values on the blue line have the same sum in each 3x3 box the line is in. Values on it. Right, okay, so that's saying that those three cells let's just do some highlighting it. Those three cells sum to the same number as those two cells, sum to the same number as those three cells, etc. But I'm wondering about the word values here. I think what that's catering for is that if the thing is in any of these positions on the blue line, the value attributed to that cell will be negative. So that's going to completely confuse us. So what that's saying is, imagine this was, 4, 5 and 6, but 6 was the thing, then actually the value of those three cells added together would be 3, because it would be 4 plus 5 plus minus 6. And then we would have to make sure these two added up to 3, and these 3 added up to 3. So there would have to be another thing down there in order to achieve that, because otherwise you'd get to too high a number. So there's definitely some jiggery pokery going on today. Values along a thermo, must mean thermometer, that's this one, look, there's only one of those, increase from the bulb end. Okay, they increase. I was just thinking about the nature of the thing along the thermometer. Oh, that would be very funny if it was sort of negative, less negative, and then gradually worked its way positive. Oh, I hope it does that. Adjacent values on a green line differ by 5 or more. It's used values again. So that means there could be negativity attaching to these green lines. Numbers in a circle appear once in the 4 surrounding cells. Oh, I see. So these are just quadruple clues. That means there's a 1 and a 7 in those 4 cells. There's a 1 and a 4 in those cells. Oh, and then it says they may be genuine, positive, or they may be the thing, negative. So that means we could have a -4 in there, a -3 and a -2. Oh no, we couldn't have a -3 and a -2 because that would be 2 things in box 4. And there's only 1 thing in each box. I remember that from earlier on in the instructions. To successfully escape, you must travel from the now destroyed outpost number 31 in row 2, column 2. So the fire. We must travel from the fire to the helicopter in row 8, column 8. Okay. Your path is 1 cell wide and may not go outside of Antarctica's boundary, the blue line. Okay. The path which travels orthogonally may not contain nor be orthogonally adjacent to any of the things cells. Okay, so when we find out where the thing lives, we can't move too close to it with our escape route. Adjacent values on the escape route differ by 5 or more. Good grief. So we've got more green lineage in effect in getting from here to here, because we have to make sure that however the route goes, that if that was the route there, no, that's not the route. Sorry, I've gone outside Antarctica. Maybe that's the route. And I've not joined it up orthogonally, so I still, I'm doing very badly at making my route. So this could be the route, something like that. And then we'd be saying that every cell along this path, well, every pair of adjacent digits along the path had to differ in value by 5 or more, which is quite an interesting restraint indeed. Now, do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual, but now I get to play. Let's get cracking and let's see if we can discover anything about where the thing lives. Now, there's a 1 in those 4 cells and there's a 1 in those 4 cells. So there is, in row 1, a 1 in one of those 3 cells. That I can see very clearly. I wonder if, does this actually look like Antarctica? That would be very clever if it does. Right, what on earth do I do now? It's remarkably sparse in terms of its actual, the real clue values, isn't it? We just get these quadruple clues. Right, and we start here, but we can't go outside Antarctica. So does that mean I have to go there as my, in terms of my escape route, do I have to go downwards? How would I not do that? I could go that way, but then my next move is going to take me into a sort of cul-de-sac where I either have to exit Antarctica, or if I go here and go down, I've got to exit Antarctica. So I think we can say straight away I have to do this, which is moderately exciting. When I say moderately, I mean really very moderately. Okay. What about the value of that? Because it occurs to me that... no, hang on. I was about to say, doesn't this have to be a negative number to have so many adjacent... Oh, it doesn't. I don't think it does. Right. There are 5... One of the things... Well, actually, all of the properties of German whispers that we normally talk about might be for the birds in this puzzle. Because normally, because digits along a whisper have to differ by at least 5, we could say there couldn't be a 5 on the whisper. But if there was a 5... because we could make this negative, that could be a 1, and then it could be the thing, and then it would be -1, and they would be 5 apart. So in this puzzle, we can put 5 on the whisper. But also, I don't think we need to make this a thing, because let's make this a 1 and say it's positive. Oh no, that might not work. 6, 7, 8, 9, and then what am I going to put in there? No, okay, let's make this a 9. Oh no, it's on the thermo. Oh, hang on, maybe this is the problem. What I was thinking is, if I make one of those cells negative, so if I make this sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I say that the 5 is -5, then in theory this cell, well then this cell would be a 9 and it would break the thermo. So I think that there is a restriction here. What about if we made this 9, 8, 7, 6, 5? Oh, that's very annoying. Of course, yeah, okay, and then I can do that, absolutely. In fact, that's going to be what it is. Oh, but that still has to be the thing, I suppose. It can't just be a normal 1, because it wouldn't be 5. Oh, but that works. Oh, hang on. I thought when I looked at this just a moment ago, it didn't seem to work. So if this is a 1, and this is -5, I mean, actually, that doesn't even have to be 5, does it? It could be 2. No, it can be 2. It could be 4, and then be minused. Then obviously 1 and 6 are 5 apart, and 1 and 7 are 5 apart. So I don't have to make this negative. That's really annoying. But all right, so all we can say is that one of these 6 cells is the thing. So if one of these 6 cells is the thing, these cells are not the thing. So we're going to have a colour for not the thing, and that colour is going to be green. Green can be the colour of things that are not the thing. Now, if that's a 1, that's putting no pressure on the... Oh, hang on. Oh, hang on, I hadn't appreciated this. This little radial of the green sun here, these have to be 5 apart. Oh, bobbins. Right, okay, so this is the thing in box 5, but it not because of these radials, which is where I was focusing, but because of this tiny radial. Because if this is positive, let's make it 1, the absolute minimum value of this is 6, and that looks like it works, except, whoops, look, it looks like we can continually increase along the thermo, but there's a 7 in one of those cells. There is not meant to be a 7 outside of this quadruple clue. So that doesn't work, which means this cell must start lower than the positive 1, which means it is the thing. So I'm going to have a new colour for the thing, and the thing is red in my world. So that means none of those cells are thing, none of these cells are thing, and none of these cells are thing. So this is so right, okay, so the problem with this is that this can now be like, when I did the example, I was wondering whether this could be a sequence of negative numbers rising up the thermo. So if that was -9, that could be -4. That's, yeah, okay, there can only be 2 negative numbers then. But we could have a very strange looking thermometer with 2 negative numbers here, just by making sure these are 5 apart, even though they're both negative. Okay. And if that, whatever that is, I mean, even if that's just slightly negative, there's no pressure at all on these digits. Wow. Wow, well, it's already interesting, but I don't feel I'm doing very well. So, how do we do better? Is it something to do with how the path moves then? The thing Now, can't go in those cells. Oh, yeah, actually, that is an interesting point. Okay. Okay, that is important. Because, how are we going to show this? I want to... What I want to do is show cells that the... I want to rule out certain cells. Because we know that the path to escape is not allowed to go in a cell that's orthogonally adjacent to the thing, and we know that's the thing, then none of those cells can be on the path. I'm torn between using... I could use X's like that, but that's going to make it very hard for me to pencil mark any actual digitage that I might be able to deduce at some point. I quite like that though. The other option would be to use this site. Oh, not that one. This type of thing. Is that more or less intrusive? I think that's perhaps a bit overkill. I think I'm going to go for this, at least to start with. So I'm going to put some X's in there to show that those cells can't be on the path that we escape from Outpost 31 using. Now, what it occurs to me now is, if I come into this cell on my escape route, so let's say I do that, where's the next cell going to be? I can't come into this cell, so I've got to go outside Antarctica, so that's not going to work, and that means that cell's X. Now that, I think, is still interesting for how we're going to get from here out of this area of Antarctica. We're going to have to come through, we're going to have to stay in Antarctica in box 4, but I can't go to that cell, so okay. Do I have to take that cell? If I didn't take that cell, how would I get through? If that's an X, D and V. Right. If that's an X, I've got to come through this cell, but then I can't come to this cell. That's outside Antarctica. So this is on the path. But then I could go that way. I think that would be allowed, or I could go that way, or I could go straight down actually. So, okay, so maybe this is not. Well, we have got something from this, haven't we? We've not got very much, but we have got something. Let me think about this. Can we do any better than what I've done so far? Is there some reason? I've got to take one of those cells, but then I don't think I have to come here. And what am I really learning by learning that this is not on the path? Am I learning anything profound about where the thing lives? Not really. I suppose, okay, in this box, in box 1, I can't put the thing in a cell that is orthogonally adjacent to the path. So, right, so the thing is not in those cells, and the thing doesn't overlap with the path. So the thing in box 1 is in one of those cells. Aha, right, okay. I think I could have got that more quickly, but I wasn't thinking along these lines. Right, oh I see. Okay, so I'm now going to claim that row 1, column 1 is the thing. We have discovered the thing in box 1. And why do I think that's the case? Well, imagine it wasn't the case. I've just worked out the thing is in one of those cells. If it's not on the blue line, that blue line will add up to at least 15 positive. If I put 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 on it, it will add up to 15 with no thing to disturb its value. And 15 is very high, especially in the context of that box, where that cell would then have to equal 15, which is clearly too high. So we've got to put a thing on the blue line to mitigate its highness, and the only place it can go is there. So now none of those can be thing, none of these can be thing, and none of these are obviously thing, which we already sort of knew. So do I now, well do I know that's not thing, or could it, oh, that would be evil. What would happen? No, that's impossible. It's impossible. These cells here, they add up to a minimum of 10. They're all positive values, and the minimum they could be would be 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's 10. The maximum that could be negative would be a 9. So we know that overall, the total for each of these box totals along the blue line is a positive number. And therefore that cannot be the thing, because it would be negative and it would be the only cell in its box. So that cell is green. But, okay. Oh, hang on. Have I made a problem here? I might have messed this up. Because now the thing in box 4 is awfully close to the path I'm going to have to take to get through box 4. Ah! Is this even possible now? I mean, that can't be the thing. If that's the thing, how do I get from here to here without touching this? If I can't go in those cells, it's not possible. I'd have to go outside Antarctica. Right, okay. So that's green. But I think maybe that could be the thing. Oh, maybe I duck in here. Yeah, that might work. Right, let's examine this box more carefully. So, if that's the thing, then none of these cells are available. That doesn't work. It makes a wall. You're coming down here, and you've got X's in both of those cells. Let's shift back to the letter tool. You can see there's just no orthogonal path I can take that gets me through this ring of X's. So that's not going to work. So that is green and not the thing. So the thing is now in one of these two cells, which means the thing is in one of these two cells. And what would happen if that was the thing? I get another wall, I think, because that's making this an X, and there's no way I can come down here and get through this line of X's without going outside of Antarctica. So that is also green, and this is thing, which means these are not thing, these are not thing, and we can go to the letter tool again and Xify some things. Those can't be on the path. So, oh, this is beautiful. It's really clever. It's very surprising to me as well that this is how we're supposed to think about this. It's very unusual to have to do a Sudoku by sort of thinking about the path through a maze, first of all. But it's got to do this. Right. And now what's that doing? So this is either closing that way or it's closing that way, I think. Okay. So, sorry if it's very clear what I meant to deduce from this, but to me it's not clear. Right. Okay. All right, let's go to numbers then, because none of those cells is the thing. So the thing, the total for the blue line in box 4 is at least 6. Oh no, it's not. It's at least it's at least 7 actually, because I've got to put 2 and 3. Oh, so this has to be a 2 or a 3. Yes, because imagine that I hid the 2s and the 3s off the blue line in box 4. Well, that would mean the minimum these cells could add up to would be a 1, 4 and 5, adding up to 10, but I can't put 10 in that cell. So I have to put a 2. This has to be a 2 or a 3, as well as being a cell that's not thingable. Mustn't, in this puzzle, we mustn't touch our things, must we? It's a tad Adrian Mole, that. Adrian Mole's probably too old a reference for some of you, but Adrian Mole's writings about his thing are they were etched in my teenage mind. Now, okay, so that means, well, it means we can only have one of 2 or 3 on this line. So the minimum, if I make this the minimum it can be, which would be a 2, then the 3 hides down there, and the minimum those could be would be a 1 and a 4, and that adds up to 7. So this cell is at least a 7. Ta-da! Yes, okay. Right, this is really interesting though, for many, many reasons all of a sudden. I've got a funny feeling it's going to be this line that's going to be... Yeah, it is. Oh, this is just... That is genius. That is absolute genius setting. Math Pesto, that is so beautiful. Right, so what digit do we know is on the blue line in box 4? Well, the answer to that now is 1. Because if there was no 1, then what would we put on the blue line? We can't put 2, 3, 4 on it because there must be a 2 or a 3 in those 3 cells. So we're at least at 2, 3, 5, which add up to 10 again. So there must be a 1 in one of those 2 cells. And that means, what's the low digit I put? I must be a low digit on a whisper, even with the thing floating around. Yeah, because, well, in fact, there's no thing floating around here. So we've got to oscillate, i.e. one of these digits has to be lower than 5. One of them has to be higher than 5 because they must differ by 5. And there's no 1 on this line. There's a 2 and a 3 in that box, so there is a 4 in that domino. And what does 4 have to go next to if we're dealing only in positive numbers and Sudoku numbers? It must go next to 9. So this is a 4-9 pair. So that's not a 9 anymore. So this is a 4-9 pair. This is not a 9 anymore. This can't be 1, 2, 4 anymore. Because the 4's gone. Good. So this is 8. It's absolutely beautiful. And right, and if it's 8, it can't be 1, 3, and 4 because the 4 is not on the blue line. So it must be 1, 2, and 5, and I get a digit. That's another digit. That's got to be a 2. This has got to be a 1, 5 pair. Now it's going to get a bit hairy now in terms of my xage, isn't it? I've got to keep track of where... Yeah, because this was an X digit. Oh, this might be the point at which we need to get rid of our X's, which I know is something many of you would like to do if you really thought about it. But you've got to do it. You've got to be nice about how you get rid of your X's. Okie dokie. So, yeah, because what I want to somehow record is that those cells are out of bounds, but you can see my X has disappeared from this one because I've got the 2 in the cell. Maybe we'll just... I'm going to forget. That's going to be the problem. If I don't get... Oh, hang on, my 2's now disappeared. I didn't mean that to happen. So I think, okay, I've got to get rid of my... I've got to get rid of my X's. Oh, let's try and replace them then. If I do big X's like this, yeah, okay, the old X's stay the same, and that will go over my 2, so that's going to work. Okay, so I have to get rid of my X's from these cells, and I've got to there's got to be an X in every cell that is orthogonally adjacent to the thing. Bing, bing. Okay, so that's fine now. It's quite hard for me to see that that's a 1 or a 5, but with my new glasses, I shouldn't use that as an excuse. That, presumably... No, that... Oh, yes, in fact, what you could do is you could X everything that's outside Antarctica. I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is I'm going to X everything that's on the boundary, though, with Antarctica, just to stop myself thinking I could... you know, I could pop outside Antarctica. So we'll just around the edge of Antarctica, we'll put in a few X's to stop ourselves from being cavalier about how we move through the grid. Oh, all right. Here's a small point. Oh, no. Ooh. Oh, I see. Oh, that's brilliant as well. I didn't spot it at all. I was just thinking about this. What I was about to do was say there's a 1 in this quadruple, and there's a 1 in one of those 1-5 cells. So there's the 1 in column 1 has to be down here, but we can do much better than that because there's got to be a 4 in here. And the fact is the 4 is not in these cells because there's a 4 in this 4-9 pair. So that means there's a 4 on the escape path, which we know operates like a German whisper. So that means that has to be a 4-9 pair. And, well, yeah, okay, and I know the order of that, because the digit that's very, very difficult to put on a German whisper is a 4. 4 and 6 are difficult because they only have one natural partner, which is the digit 5 away from them, which in the 4's case is 9. Now, what would happen if you put the 4 in the middle of the line? Well, that would be a 9, but then the next digit along this escape path needs to be a 9, but this 9 sees both the possible cells that are in Antarctica, so that will not work. So what we've got to do is put the 4 at the start of the line, and now we know exactly how this line moves, because we know that the next cell along the line, one of these two cells, is going to be a low digit. So if it's this one, it's not going to be able to be... If that's the next digit, that would determine that this is a 1. But whichever one of these it goes to, we know it then goes to this cell, which will then be a high digit. So that needs to be 9, that needs to be 4. This needs to be a high digit, which is therefore 6. Well, it's therefore 9 again, isn't it? It's got to be 5 different from 4. And then this is going to be a low digit, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, or 4. There's what do we know anything about the value of the thing? Does the thing have to be different in each box? That's what we've been having with the whole doublers thing, isn't it? Let me just read the rules again. The thing, values on the blue line, values on the thermo. Ah, no, it doesn't say that in this one. So maybe the thing can be the same value. Oh! These squares have got to be a 149 triple now by Sudoku. So, oh, look, because this is a 4-9 pair, there's a 1 here now, looking at this cell. So that's become a 5, that's become a 1. We know there's a 3 in one of these cells using the power of this quadruple clue. So that cell is only got 6, 7, or 8. This is a 9. Oh, that's so useless because we know that this is negative. So actually it can be literally anything. Getting a 9 is the most useless number we could have got in this position here. Useful numbers would be like if we got a 1 in any of these cells, which is actually, that's looking quite tricky even. Right, so... do we now know how this moves? It's either going to come here or here for its next move. And it's going to be a high digit. Wow, I don't know. Okay. This is looking a bit tricky. I've got a 9 on the blue line up here, so this digit's... Yes, because we're heading for 8, aren't we? I've got to add 3 digits plus 9 and then take something off it to get back to 8. So if I minimise those, I'd have 16 on the... Oh, that's it. Right. Okay, so that is the next thought. Look at this box's blue numbers, and there are 4 of them that are positive values. And if we minimise those, we get to 16. But we know overall the sum of this blue line is 8 because of this cell. So the only way to do that is that's got to be 8. It can't be -9. We've already used 9. This has got to be a 1-2 pair, and we know where the 1 goes. Good grief. This has been so skillfully put together. It really has. Now look, there's a 1 in one of these 2 cells by the power of this quadruple. Oh, nearly. Okay, I was nearly very happy, but I'm not quite as happy as that. But I'm still happy because look now at this line. This line cannot have, the blue line in box 2 can't have a 1 on it. So its minimum value would be 2 plus 3 plus 4, which is 9, if it didn't have a thing. And we know 9 is too big, so it does have a thing in one of those 2 cells, but I don't know which one. One of those is thing. These 2 are not thing, therefore. Is there some way we can detect which one of these has to be thing? Oh, okay, well hang on. Now I know this is a positive number. So I haven't got negative along the thermo. So, no, I don't think that's that useful actually. I know this can't be a 1, so it's at least a 2. So that's at least a 3, that's at least a 4, that's at least a 5. So this digit at the end of the thermo is either 5, 6 or 9. It can't be 7 and it can't be 8. Yeah, that's the world's most useless deduction. Sorry. Right, let's try other things. We can put a 9 in one of those cells. We can... What can we do now? Is it going to be blue line? Is it going to be green line? Or is it going to be Sudoku? Probably Sudoku. That's the thing I would be most likely to overlook. So what sort of Sudoku is going to help us now? Good question. These 2 cells. Can one of those be thing? Oh, I suppose, could it be 9 and -1? No, it couldn't be -1 because 1 is not on the line. Right, so those 2 values are both positive, which means they are not thing. So that's potentially interesting. It doesn't really do very much, actually, to be very honest. Okay, maybe it's these. So one of these is thing. Am I supposed to know which one? Or is it going to be... Oh, I know what it might be. Yes, okay, let's come back to this box now, where I've actually got 4 blue digits. So one of those must be thing, because if they're not thing... Oh, that's it, I've got it. Right. So the point here is because this cell is on the path, that cell cannot be thing, because it would prevent this from being on the path. And if that's not on the thing, if that's not thing here, but if all of these were positive, they would add up to at least 10, and that would break this cell. So that's got to be thing, which means that's not thing. This is thing, and therefore I get a whole load of non-thing cells in all of those. That's non-thing. This, oh, that's it. Look, that's not thing anymore. So this is thing. These are not thing. Good grief, we've almost thingified the grid. Right, let me just think about what that's meaning then. So now, I know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to exify some cells that can no longer be... So that's not on the path anymore because the path can't dip in and out of a thing, out of a cell. It can't go into a cul-de-sac and then just go back on itself. Well, or can it? It wouldn't have much meaning. I think it said that the path was... Your path is one cell wide. Travels orthogonally. No, I mean, I don't think that has much meaning to suggest that the path can dip in and out of the same cell. Oh, hang on, that cell's not thing. Or not path, I should say. It's also not thing, but it's definitely not. So, I know what we could do then. So if I make that the thing, can I get to the helicopter? No. Because if that's the thing, then these would be off limits for the path, as would this, and that's created a line of X's that we couldn't cross through. So that's not the thing. I'm not sure this can be the thing. If that's the thing, all of those cells become non-path. Oh yeah, and that X does it. So we couldn't travel through any of those cells. So that's just not the thing. So the thing lives here, which means these are not the thing. This is the thing. This is the thing, and we have located all the positions of the thing in the puzzle, and that means we can locate all of the cells that are not allowed to be on the path, which is, so that cell's completely cut off from everything. The thing itself can't be on the path. So the helicopter, to get to the helicopter, we've got to come through that little track and then go here, which is cool. Oh, so the path, right, so the path never goes into the sort of northeast corner of the grid. It just simply cannot get up there. Oh, I bet we can work out the, we can use checkerboard logic, can't we now, to work out the parity of the helicopter. Because as you can see that every cell that's sort of a diagonal king's move away from this cell is a high digit. So we just have to work out, so that's a low digit, I think, because it's not on the same bishop's colour as the 9. So that cell there is low, which means this cell here is high, which means this cell here is low, which means this cell here is high. It's not 8. Oh, it's not 8. I tried to press 8 then. Okay, can that really be 4? That's going to cause double 9 into those cells. Answer, potentially. Okay. Bobbins. I don't know what to do now. Can we... All I've got to do, I think, is locate how this path works, and then we'd be good to go. Can we say anything? These two cells add up to 8, don't they? And they don't involve a negative number. So this is either 1, 7. Oh, which is, oh, I see. It's not because of the quadruple clue. So this is either 2, oh, but it could be a 2 here. Oh, oh no, it can't be. I was wondering about 2 from the perspective of the thermo. Normally the third cell along a thermo cannot be a 2, but in this puzzle it can be, because that's negative. But that can't be a 2 by Sudoku. So if this is 2, 6, it's only one way round. It's that way round. That almost looks likely. No, oh no, that's beautiful. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because what would you put up here? If this is 6, I can't use 7. That's got to be in there, and I'm not allowed to use 8, so they both have to be 9. That won't work. That's so clever. So this is now a 3-5 pair by force, the force of nature that is Math Pesto's setting. So this is a 3 or a 5. So if that's 5, does it then work? Because that could be 6 and that could be 9. Yeah, okay. So if we can prove what this is, we're going to have a really good chance of getting this thermo sorted out. There's got to be a 7 in one of those cells, obviously, but now it's not here. It might be worth pencil marking. Right, what's the minimum value of that then? That could be a -2. That's the least negative thing it could possibly be. And that means these cells have to add up to at least 10. That's no problem at all. They could be enormous as far as I can see. Okay, that's not a sensible line of inquiry. Right, so what is it now? Oh, hang on. I've got 3 green cells here. So you can't put 9 in these cells because these are all positive values. So they must have a 1 on them, and the 1, that's nice. So the 1 must be in one of those 2 cells. It's really hard to see, I appreciate that. In fact, what I might do is get rid of some of the Xing up here. Just because this seems to not be able to come up here anymore, and it's going to help me to see what's going on. Let's just get rid of the Xing there, and see if we can Sudoku our way out of trouble. So these 3 cells sum to 8. Which means they're all individually lower than 6. That isn't a 1. This is not a 2 or a 4. That's not a 5. Whoopsie, not a 5. And one of these is a 1, and one of these is a 1. That means there must be a 1 in one of those 3 cells, which must be in one of these 2, because this is a high digit. So this is not 6, is it? Because that's in the middle of a whisper. That would have to be surrounded by double 1. So that's at least 7. Oh yes, okay, and I've still got to be a bit careful here about making these 3 cells add up to... Alright, okay, that is not an 8. That is what I'm going to claim. And that's because, if that's an 8, we run into a world of trouble. Because what are those 2 digits now? Remember, these have to now sum to 0. That has an implication about each of these digits. That one's negative and that one's positive, but they have to be the same number. That will not work. That will break the rules of Sudoku. So that's 7 or 9. Now, if this is 7, that has to be... Well, that has to be a 2. No, right. This is it. This is it. So, if this is 7, you can't make it work. Because by German whisper logic, this has to be a 1 or a 2, because it's got to be 5 different from 7. But these 3 digits together have to add up to at least 8. So we can't make this 1, because that's going to require this to be a 0. So this has to be 2. Now we've got 9 here, so this has to be -1. But what do we put into that cell now? It's got to be 5 different from 7, and it's not allowed to be 1 or 2. There are no options. So that means this cell here is a 9, which is very underwhelming, actually. Oh, that's a 9 now. Oh, ooh, nearly, actually. So 9 is almost forced onto the end of the thermo. It would actually be better if it wasn't. How do we force it not to be? How many 9s have I got? I have got quite a few. That's not 9 anymore. Okay, so let's think about the maths of this then. So we've got 9 plus this digit. So let's make that digit a 1. That's going to give us 10. So this is going to... What we're learning here is that would then be a 2. So this digit is exactly 1 more than this digit. So this is 2, 3, 4, or 5. And unfortunately, that's not helpful. Oh. Oh, okay. Bother. Okay. How annoying. Oh. Okay, so how do we do this then? Can I do my... I want to do my 3-5 pair up here. That feels resolvable, doesn't it? What's going to give me the insight into that? I haven't got a clue. Maybe I've got to... So which blue line segments have we not used? I haven't used... Well, I sort of haven't used this one, but I'm not sure how to use that one. If I could... No, I don't know. Is there something... I don't know, I genuinely haven't got a clue where I'm meant to look. We could look at... Alright, Sudoku. Let's try Sudoku. So there's a 2 down here. There's a 7 in here. Why is this 7 in this position? Is that somehow revealing secrets that we should be able to piggyback off? I don't know. 5. 5 is in one of those cells. So 5 has got one position left to go in box 1. Because 5's got to be in one of these, it's therefore forced into this cell. Now those cells look... Oh, that's not an 8. But these squares have got to be 3, 6, 7. Aha! 3, 6, 7. So that cell is not a 3. That cell is an 8. Which is absolutely hopeless, I think. What are these squares at the top then? They're 6. No, they're 3, 6, and 7. Can we do anything with that? Doesn't look very promising. Okay. Alright, let's try the whisper again then. That digit is not a 4. Because if it's a 4, wherever I extend the line, the escape path, I'm going to have to put a 9 on it, but to be 5 different from 4. And that 9 will see this cell and it sees this cell. So that's not a 4. This is a 1, 2, or a 3. Now, okay, if this was a 3, then I need to put an 8 or a 9 into one of those cells. And neither of these can be 8 and neither of them can be 9. So that is now down to 1 or 2, but I think this is where we're going to run out of steam, because 1 and 2 can obviously go with, well, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Although we're going to have to put 6s and we're going to have to put a 6 or a 7 as the next cell. So if it was here, we'd have to then turn and have a lowish digit in this position. What's wrong with that? Don't know. If we stay here, then we could either dip down or not, as we like. Okay, what about if that's a 6? Then that's a 1. That's got to be a 1. That'll make this a 2. I don't know, it's tricky. It's tricky to see where I think some of these things might be ruled out by very heavy sort of forward thinking, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to try and do it with less. This 5 is cool. I'm going to try and do it with more aplomb than that. So therefore this 5 means we can't use 7 and 8, so we must use 6 and 9. So that's 6, that's 9, that's good. That's 6 now. Sudoku, as always, it seems. Sudoku comes to the rescue. Oh, wow. Yeah. There's now a 9 on this line, which is probably important. So that means the other blue digit here has to be 1 less than whatever we put in that cell. So that might warrant investigation. This cell is a maximum of 4. Oh, in fact, we know this is a positive digit as well, don't we? Because it's not red. So it's got to be, it's not 1, so it's 2 or 4. That's only got the ability to be 2 or 4. So this cell can't be... Oh, it can be -1. Oh, it can't be -1 by Sudoku. But I was thinking if it was -1, then it might get too close to that, but it doesn't. -1 and 4 are 5 apart, so bother. Oh dear. Is there some other... Oh, hang on. These are both negative. I hadn't noticed that. Let me just get rid of the X in that cell so I can think about this unexified. What is that saying to us then? Right, so effectively we have to think of these as positive then, in a way, because this operates like a normal German whisper, albeit that both digits are negative. So, you know, if we put 3 in here, this would have to be -8 or -9. So there are constraints going on. There's sort of a constraint around... I think probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to pencil mark all of the options for these cells. Now, so we know one of them is 9. The other digit is not 1. I've got a pencil mark here. It's not 2. If it's 3, we know that it doesn't work. It's really cool, the reason it doesn't work. If we put 3 here, this cell has to be 4 to make these cells add up to 8. But that being -4, what are we going to put into this cell? It's negative, remember? So it must be -9, and it can't be. So 3 doesn't work. 4 doesn't work. 5 doesn't work. 6 doesn't work. 7. But 7 or 8. It can't be 8. It can't be 8. I can tell you that, because if you put 9 and 8 in here, you've got the same problem we had down here. We're going to have to put, you know, to make the 3 cells add up to 8, you're going to have to put a 9 in there. So this is 9, 7. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So now I get 7 here. And what's more, this has to be 8, doesn't it? Because then I've got 16 minus 8, which is indeed 8. So that's 8. Now this is -2 or 3. I can hardly see that, but it is -2 or 3 because it's got to be 5 different from -8. Now, can we get what that is? That seems to be the likely thing that we're going to be able to do. 7, oh, actually, 7 is in this arrangement of digits. So 7 in this column now can't be there, and it can't be there, and it doesn't seem to be able to be there. So that's 7, but that's positive 7. That's 6 now. So we get left with a 3-7 pair there. What's this 7 doing? Is it doing something profound? There's a 7 in one of these 2 cells. So there's a 7 in one of those 2 cells. Nearly. Okay, and we can think about, we've got 6 digits in row 2. We have not placed 1, 3 and 8. Well, that's a 3. That's a 3 because the 1 seems to be up there and the 8 is there. So that is a 3. So this is a 1-8 pair. Which I don't know if that does anything, but it might do. Let me think. It gives us these digits, doesn't it? They're a 2-4 pair now, which means that's not a 2 or a 4. How does that impact the world? Does it impact it at all? what was that digit's role in this box? It's not on the blue line, so it's nothing to do with that. I know it's not stopping that being 6, because if that's 1, that could be 6. So that's doing absolutely diddly squat. But we've got a 2-4 pair here now, so 6 can be placed in row 3. So 6 is in one of 2 places in box 5, and one of 3 places. Oh, so that gets rid of 6 from this line. Okay, well that's good. So we're down to 7 or 9 in this position. Ah, it's lovely. It's lovely. This is what is so clever about this puzzle is the variation in the logic you're using all the time. It's always subtly changing and switching on you, and you have to keep track of a lot of stuff. But now that digit can't be on the path, because when we come into this, and it wouldn't matter if we did a round trip, this is always going to be a high digit by checkerboarding. Well, it would therefore need to be a 6, 7, 8, 9. It can't be 6. Can't be 7, 9, it can't be 8, so it cannot be on the path. And that pushes the path down here, where we now know, because this is, well, this is 6 or 7. That's what we know. It's not 7. Oh, so it is 6. Well, that's massive if that's true. I'm just going to double check that. It's on the path, I'm convinced about that. It's not affected by negatives, so that's fine. And it can't be 7, 8 or 9, so it is 6, which means that's got to be 1. And now these can't be paths, so the path must turn this way, and this cell must be 1 to be 5 different from here, which means I get a 1 at the top of the grid. I get a 3 here, which is lovely, because that now can't be a 7, so that's a 9. Now I sort of presume this just closes here. As much for uniqueness as anything else. If it did wobble around, how would we know it wasn't meant to close? That is a philosophical question I don't think there's an answer to. So I'm pretty sure it does. But maybe there's a way of proving it. I suppose the way of proving it would be to prove that this digit cannot be a high digit. And we can do that. Yeah, it can't be 6, 7, 8 or 9. So we can't come to this square. Because it's positive, it needs to be 5 different from this. It's impossible, and that's not path because of the thing. So actually, the path goes there, and we still haven't closed the path. Oh, actually, oh look, that's lovely. Right, so we can complete the escape route now. In fact, that means I can get rid of my exage. So let's get rid of our x's again. Apologies for the romantic implications of this. And therefore we can do all of those things. But look now at how we can't come to this square because of this thing cell. So we have to dodge that way, and then we have to close without leaving the Antarctic. So this is the complete escape route. The only part of it that we've not filled in is the final digit here, which now can't be a 3 because of this cell. So it's 1, 2 or 4. He says, hoping that that's going to sort of shed some light on the world and not being able to tell how. Let's try this column then. 2, those are not 6s anymore. Can we use this 1 somehow? Oh, yes we can. Hang on, I remember I had 2 pencil mark 1s there, and that 1 ruled out one of them. So that's a 1, that's a 1, that's a 4, that's a 9. This cell here is not 3 or 4 anymore. Ah, hang on, doesn't that impact on this one? Because we said that that one had to be 1 more than that one. So this is no longer able to be 2 because this can't be 3. So I'm not. That seems to only have the option of being 1 or 4 left to it. So it's got to be 4, which makes that 5. So then we've got 9 plus 4 minus 5, which is equal to 8. This is not 4. Okay. Look at those digits now. They add up to 8. Well, we can't make them 1, 3, 4 anymore because, well, that cell has no option at all. So this is 1, 2, 5, which means this cell is not 3 or 4. 1, 2, 5. So, has that done anything good for us? Sort of, not sure. 4 can be placed in this box now by Sudoku. It lives here. So these digits are what? They are 2, 3, 5 and 8. So that is 2 or 8. Oh no, it's not 2. Okay, so this is important. Let's just go through this slowly. From a Sudoku perspective in the row, this is 2, 3, 5 or 8. But we know it's not 2 or 5, which are on the blue line. So it's 3 or 8. And there's a 3 here, so it has to be 8. Which means there's an 8 in one of these cells. These two squares now are known, aren't they? They are a 6, 7 pair, and somehow this still resists. But that cell is a 3. Okay, I think that's been available for a while. That means that's a 3 and that's a 7. That's a 7 and that's a 6. So that's a 6 using our pencil marking. This 1 means this is a 2. That's a 5. That's a 1. That's a 1. That's an 8. So this column, look, we haven't placed 2 and 7 in it, which we still can't. But we're getting there. Slowly but surely, I think we are getting there. These squares are 6 and 8. It's also not resolved. But at least there's no clash in the columns, so that's good. Oh, if that's 2. Oh, no, that could be -3. Oh, no. I thought I could get rid of the 2 as the option there. But 2 and -3 are, in fact, far enough apart. This square is a 2 or a 3 as well now. But just to complete this row. So this is a 2, 3 pair. And it's always going to work, whichever one the negative is. That's lovely. All right, what about those squares then? That's 5 and 8. Okay, still don't know how to do that. Therefore, this square is a 4. That 9 gives me a 9 and a 7 at the top. So the 7 in this little arrangement now is on the line. Ah, this line, it might be where we're meant to look, because I've not thought about that for some time. I've now got 13 on the line. And I've got to get back down to 8. So this digit has got to be 5 greater than this digit. So this is like another whisper thing, isn't it? So this has to be... Well, what can it be? It has to be 8. There's no other high whisper digit available. That's beautiful. Well, it's not necessary. Yeah, that's right. It needs to be the negative. So that's got to be 8, and that's got to go with a 3, 7 pair. Now let's just check I've got the maths right here. I've now got 16 minus 8, which is indeed the number we first thought of, 8. That's really lovely. So that means that's 8, that's 6. What do we need in here? 2, 4 and 5. Well, they can get the 4. Don't know if I can get the 2 and the 5, but at least this 2, 5 pair gives me this digit, which gives me this digit and this digit and this digit and this digit, which gives me a 5 here by Sudoku. What's that cell going to be? That's got to be a 7. That gets me a 7 and a 3 up here, a 3 here and a 4 here, I think. No, oh, not 4 there. That doesn't look good. Too many 4s in that column. 6, I think. That looks better. So this cell is a 2 or a 5 at the top. This 3's done it finally. Now I know that digit's a 2. That's a 3. Okay. So this is 5 or 8 and can't be 8. So that must be 5. That must be 5. That must be 8. That's 2. That's 2. That's 4. That's 4. That's 5. That's 2. And it's finally, I think it's actually finished. It's a quite breathtaking puzzle, that. Yes. Wow. Just wow. I mean, that's an incredibly good Sudoku puzzle with elements of sort of, I don't know, a bit of snakeage? Is that what we describe it as? Certainly pathfinding logic. Very sparse grid, but what's really amazing about this, let me just get rid of some of the colours. I think I'll get rid of the green. Just leave the thing cells in. In fact, the thing had a lot of repetition about it. The digit 8 was thingified several times, and 2, 6, and 5, or 2, 3, 6, and 5 being the only other occurrences of the thing. So there are some people who basically had a natural immunity to the thing and were able to fend off its advances. But yeah, it's just a very, very smart puzzle. The interaction of the whispers and the region sum lines, the blue lines, and how they work with the negators, it's just, you can tell how much thought's gone into it, and the choices the constructors made at each juncture are very, very good ones. They're always elegant. They're always leading to a nice surprise for the solver, which makes it such a joy to basically tackle. Loved it. What a thing to do on Halloween. Long video again, but I hope you don't mind that. I certainly don't. I'd do a puzzle like this every day. If we could, if puzzles were this good, you'd do them every single day. And I do get to do them every day, but you know what I mean. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I do enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.